Welcome to Jimbo's Garage.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. Well, today's video is kind of short and kind of random. Let me tell you what we've got. We've got basically a rectangular gate frame that's about 12 feet long, 6 feet tall. And the unique thing about this is different than what I've done in the past, is this is stainless steel. Now, I've never really worked with stainless steel in gate frames, so this is going to involve some stainless steel MIG welding, something that I've really never done before. So one thing I want to tell you is you're not going to see an installation part of the video at the very end because that's out of my hands. The owner is just contracted me to build the frame itself. He's going to be installing some wood slats on the inside, and he's going to be taking it from there. So primarily this video is going to be stainless steel metal preparation. We're going to talk about the wire that I'm going to be using, the machines I'm going to be using, and the settings that we're going to use. And that's primarily what this video is going to be about. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that Instagram is a huge platform, and it's a big social media platform. And what I do on Instagram is a lot of behind the scenes or stuff that does not make it to the channel, you'll catch there. I'm busy here in the shop all the time doing something different every single day. And just a few things that is worthy of me making videos is one thing, but all the other stuff that happens in here that does not make it to the channel is another. And that's what makes it kind of interesting, and those are the kind of things that gets to Instagram. So if you could, check me out on Instagram. All right, let's get started with today's video. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is start cutting the material, and you can see that I've set the saw on the angle of 45 degrees and just double checking it with my speed square. Sometimes it gets off just a little bit, and just a little bit being off makes a really big difference on these cuts. You can see that it looks like I might be struggling a little bit cutting this. The blade is just starting to get a little dull, and I know this is stainless steel, and it is a little bit tougher, but I did have my share of problems here. Okay, well, I'm down to the very last cut for the 2-inch square tube right here, and I gotta say, this blade is burnt. I hope I can make it through this cut right here, and then we've got some small cuts with the angle iron. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but I can tell you this: as soon as we get all this stainless steel cut on this thing, this blade's going off and you get going in the trash, and a new one's going on. This blade doesn't owe me a dime. I've probably got well over 1,000 cuts on this, and it is on its last legs. I just want to finish it up and be sure we get this job done. So let's do it. Yeah, that's for sure. But hopefully there's a few more cuts left in this thing, and we'll get this project completed. Well, I got all the cuts done here, and you can see that I'm just taking a ceramic flap disc right here, and I am grinding a bevel all the way around on these pieces right here. This is some 120 wall thickness stainless, and so I want some good penetration through here. I am going to be grinding these wells down flat a little bit later on. This is the look that the person wanted. Now, these are some tabs or some posts that I had turned down on my lathe for helping with the fabricating here on my table. You can see I put a couple posts on either end of the table, and that makes for a perfect 90 degrees, and makes really for better fabricating. Just clamp everything down, you're ready to go. All right, now that we're all fastened down, ready to start getting welding, today we're going to be operating off the HTP Pro Pulse 200, and I've got it spooled up with some E308L 35 thousandths 10-pound spool right here. Picked this up at HTP America or USAWeld.com. Now this is a stainless steel flux core gas shielded wire, so that means that we're going to be running some gas with this. In this case, I'm going to be running some 75-25, 75% argon, 25% CO2. I've been running that somewhere around 40 to 45 CFH for this. Let me bring you in, turn the machine on, go through the settings, show the settings that we're going to be using, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is select the program menu, and I'm going to scroll down to the stainless steel section, which is the black right here, 308 35 thousandths, and we're going to be using some 75-25 and in the pulse mode. We're going to go ahead and adjust the inches per minute, probably somewhere right around 300 there. 151 amps, about 21 volts. We're going to give that a try and see how it works. All right, so there's the very first tack and the first bead right there, and I gotta say that was laid in there really smooth. I was really surprised. I don't think I'm gonna need to make any kind of adjustments. I think I'll just go with it just the way it is. All right, so the first weld went pretty good. I've flipped everything around, got everything clamped back down on the welding table, and everything is perfectly square. You can see that the bevel is a perfect bevel. It's laid in there really nice. This is and being nice and square, this is really going to make for a good weld in here. I'm going to go ahead and just tack it right here in the front, tack it here on the back, and I'm just going to lay this in. We'll see how that looks, and then we'll go ahead and weld the rest of this thing out. But let's take a look at this next weld. All right, that laid in there pretty good. Very little spatter. You can just see there's just a couple little spots on here. We'll chip the slag off, and you can see that appears to have really good penetration right here, and we got good color to it. I think the settings are just about right for what we're using. So I'm going to go ahead and weld the rest of this thing out, and then we'll go from there. Okay, a couple things I want to notice. It may seem like I'm yelling all the way across the my shop. That's because I am. The camera seems like it's 6 miles away. But one thing I wanted to point out that's important when you're fabricating. Even though that my table is a 5-foot by 10-foot table, and the part that I'm making is 6-foot by 12-foot, obviously it doesn't fit on my table, and it's very awkward. You know, sometimes you get center supports that go in here, and then that still remains on the table, and everything stays good. But in this case, we're not having that. So you got to do everything you can to get everything up and level and perfect. Perfect level is very important when you're fabricating. If you get out of level, things get out of square very fast. So we know that I am perfectly square right here. I'm up against the pins on this side. I'm perfectly square on the edge of the table this way. I'm hanging off the edge of the table this way. I've got a support out here, and then I'm going to show you in a minute the other side as well. The other side is hanging off the welding table, and it's important that that also be nice and level and supported. That way everything is going to be good. Now I've checked it diagonally for square, and it is absolutely perfect, right on the money where it is. So I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about having this thing perfectly level over there, and then we're going to finish welding this thing out. All right, so I'm going to grab a couple of my Armor self-adjusting clamps right here. These clamps work really good for clamping material together. There's no adjustment. They virtually clamp just about any thickness material, and it works out good for stuff like I'm doing right here, which is hanging off the end of the table where I got to kind of clamp this material together. I'm just going to put a couple tacks on it, take that clamp off, and I'm able to go ahead and finish my welding. You can see I've got the other fixture clamps right there holding it to the table, and those work out pretty good. All the clamps definitely have their place, that's for sure. So I'm going to take advantage here, and while this part of the frame is hanging off the end of the table, and just catch the inside as much of the welding as I possibly can. I went around and got all the welding done, and now it's time to grind off everything. That kind of bums me out because everything looks so nice, and now it's time to start the brushed finish here. So I started out with a ceramic flap disc here, and went around and ground all the welds down, and everything really looked pretty smooth. It's starting to look pretty good right here. I'm kind of impressed. Stainless steel is just a joy to work with. It really finishes up nice. Went around and got all of it done here. This is the rough finish, and once I got all 4 corners all buffed out here, I'm going to switch over to the a coarse surface preparation disc by Mercer. I'm not really certain how this is going to work with the stainless steel, so I thought I would just give it a try, and right out of the chute you can just see a tremendous difference of the original material plus what we're doing with this surface preparation. This is a coarse disc, so it's kind of left some scratches in there, but it worked out really good. Once I got that done, I switched over to the Scotch-Brite hook and loop system here, and went around and just finished this out, and that is really all I needed. Between the coarse and the Scotch-Brite right here, I believe it was a medium. The finish turned out just exactly what I was hoping for. Pretty cool. So that worked out really good for the frame all the way around, and I did want to get that on the inside done because I am going to be putting this angle iron right here on the inside, and I needed to have that brush finished on the inside. So that's why I did the inside of that all the way around. So now it's just time to get the angle iron welded on the inside, and you can see how there's many uses for these armor clamps right here. You can see I've got you know, the fixture clamps in the table and the self-adjusting clamps holding the angle iron in. It works out really good, and it's just really good for speeding up fabrication. You know, it's been probably almost a year since I've had this table, maybe not quite a year, and I just reflect back on the days when I had my small welding table and how I used to do stuff like this, and it just amazes me that you know, now that I've got this and all these different clamping fixture clamps and regular clamps, it's just so much easier and so much faster. It just makes such a tremendous difference. You know, times has changed here in just a little bit less than a year. You know, I'm cutting 45s for the angle iron right here to go on the inside. I don't know. I probably didn't need to do that, but I'm trying to make a perfect fit in there. And I got to say, it didn't quite, they weren't perfect, but you know, close enough. And what they weren't, I just filled in with a weld. And after all, it's going to be covered up. They're actually going to be building some wood structure that's going to go on the inside of this, and it's going to be attached with some screws or whatever, and that's what the angle iron is in there for. Anyways, that's the plan there, and you can see I'm just going along here, and about 2-inch long beads, about every foot apart is all we're going to need, and that is not going anywhere. You know, I thought about flipping it around and welding on the back side of the angle as well, but when I flipped around, I did not need that at all. This is really strong just the way it is, and there'd be no issues with that. Well, there it is. It's all complete and all brushed out, and this is a great little project. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and check out the website at JIMBO'sGarage.com. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.